Welcome to chapter 26 of the book of 1 Samuel. We return to the cat chasing the mouse. Seeing Saul, the king, trying to catch up, kill David, who has 600 men with him in the wilderness. Started off with 4 and gaining more people. It begins, and the Ziphites come to the hill to Saul, saying, "Behold, David is sheltered with us in the hill of Hachilah." We'll go to the map here. Here is the Ziphites, Carmel. This is not the same as the Mount Carmel. This is another city, Judah. And the people of this area is all a wilderness. And so David is within these canyons throughout this area, hiding from Saul. So these people from Ziph know where they're at. And it continues, "Behold, David is sheltered with us in the hill of Hachilah against the face of Yesimon." And Saul rose up and went down into the wilderness of Ziph, and with him 3,000 chosen men from out of Israel, 3,000 against 600, to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul camped in the hill of Hachilah against the face of Yesimon, which is in that area, upon the way. And David stayed in the wilderness. So here he's near these villages, but David's out in the wilderness. Eremo, hermit comes from that word. And David saw that Saul comes after him into the wilderness, and David sent spies, and he knew that Saul was come prepared from there. And David rose up in private and went into the place where Saul was sleeping there. So the camp of these men were camped close to where David and his men were. David goes down into the camp with another man or 2 men. And David saw the place where Saul went to bed there, and Abner, son of Ner, his commander-in-chief, was there. That would be the commander-in-chief of Saul. And Saul was sleeping in the royal chariot, and the people were camping round about him. Kiklo, a circle, kiklo, round about, derivative. And David responded, and he said to Ahimelech the Hittite, and to Abisai, the son of Zeruiah, brother of Joab, saying, "Who shall enter with me to Saul into the camp?" And Abishai said, "I shall enter with you." And they entered, David and Abisai, among the people at night, Nikta. We have the word nocturnal right here from Nikta. And behold, Saul was sleeping a deep sleep, hypnotic, comes from that, in a royal chariot. And his spear was sticking in the ground by his head. And Abner and the people slept round about him. And Abisai said to David, "The Lord locked up today your enemy into your hands, and now I shall indeed strike him with the spear into the earth once, and I shall not repeat it a second time against him." Depteroso, you can add that to your English derivatives book, Deutero, second Deuteronomy, second law, Deutero, proto, Deuteroso. And David said to Abisai, "You should not utterly destroy him, for who shall bear his hand against the Christone of the Lord, the Christ, the anointed one of the Lord, and be acquitted?" Don't kill people that are anointed by God. If you do, then that's a bad thing. And I look in the New Testament of many people, Christians that have been anointed, but yet they find themselves being martyred for Christ. But the people that bear their hand against these anointed of the Lord are going to be wishing they had never did something like that, because it's going to be way worse for them, I believe, in the judgment. And David said, well, as the Lord lives, that if the Lord should not smite him, or his day should come and he should die, or by battle should go down and be added to his fathers, then it's by no means to me from the Lord to bear my hand against the Christos of the Lord, the Christone. So now what it's saying here is that if the Lord doesn't smite him by either a disease or a sickness of some sort, or if he should die in battle, then or die a natural death, I'm not going to be the one that's going to strike the hand of the anointed one of the Lord. And we find out later in a couple of chapters what happens to people that did strike the anointed one of the Lord at that time. And now, take indeed the spear from before his head, cephalic, derivative, and the flask of the water, and we'll go forth. And David took the spear and the flask of the water from before his head, and they went forth, and there was not one seeing, there was not one knowing, and there was not one awakening. All were sleeping, for a stupefaction from the Lord fell upon them. So God put them all to sleep, a stupefaction it calls it. And David passed over to the other side and stood upon the top of the mountain far off, Macrothan, the macro. And there was a long way, odos, odometer, derivative, between them. And David called the people and spoke to Abner, son of Ner, saying, Will you not answer, Abner? And Abner answered and said, Who are you calling me? And David said to Abner, Are you not a man? And who is like you in Israel? And why do you not guard your master the king? For one from out of the people entered to destroy your master the king. This is not a good thing which you've done. As the Lord lives, for you are a son of death, not guarding the king your master, the anointed one of the Lord, the Christone. And now see where the spear of the king is, and the flask of the water, he holds him up, the things by his head. And Saul recognized the phonein, the voice, phone comes from that derivative. And he said, Is this your phone, son David? And David said, It is my phonemu, Kyrie, your bondman, O king. And Saul said, Why is this, David here. And David says, Why is this my master, Saul, pursues after his bondman? For in what have I sinned, and what offense was found in me? And now let my master the king hear indeed the words of his bondman. If God stirs you against me, then may your sacrifice smell acceptable. All right? If God's doing it, then may it happen. And if the sons of men, then let these be accursed before the Lord. For they cast me out today to not be firmly fixed in the inheritance of the Lord, saying, Go to serve other gods. This is what they're saying, basically. And now may my blood not fall upon the ground right opposite the face of the Lord. For the king of Israel has come to seek one flea, as the long-eared owl pursues prey in the mountains. And Saul said, I've sinned. Return, son David, for I shall not do evil against you any more, because my life was valued in your eyes, and today I have acted in folly, and I am ignorant very much. Well, crocodile tears. And David responded and said, Well, behold, the spear of the king. Let, indeed, one of the servants come through and take it. And the Lord will restore to each his righteousness and his trust between you and me. as the Lord delivered you today into my hands, and I wanted not to bear my hand against the anointed one of the Lord. And behold, as your life was magnified today in my eyes, so may my life be magnified before the Lord, and may he shelter me, and may he rescue me from out of all affliction. So he is not looking at the army, he's not looking at the 600 men, he's not looking at Saul not chasing after him anymore. What is he looking at? He is looking at the Lord. When we're in a terrible place where he was here being thousands of men coming after him, only 600 men, whatever kind of problem we have that looks overwhelming, it's very easy to look for the world to be a policeman to come, or the army to protect us, or some association, a group of people of whatever. But for us, the Christians, we have Jesus Christ, who will shelter us and rescue us from out of all affliction. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't die as a martyr. If it's in God's plan that we are to be martyrs, then so be it. But we need to, when that happens, realize that God has a better plan and it's for a purpose. But God generally will, I believe, he doesn't have all Christians become martyrs, very few. So he does rescue us from out of affliction. And Saul said to David, "Well, being blessed are you, son David, and by performing you shall perform, and in ability you will be able." It means he's going to be a man that basically takes over the kingdom eventually, and he knows he's a man of ability. And David went forth on his way, and Saul returned to his place. But David doesn't trust him, as we find out next chapter, and find out what David does about that. Hope you'll join us. Continue book of 1 Samuel, chapter 27. Till the next time then, God bless.